Good evening. Yes, good evening. It is Tuesday evening, but I'm going to be working from home tomorrow, and I'm currently stuck in traffic on the way home, so I thought, why not go ahead and have tomorrow's chat today? Time and all that stuff, but yeah, whatever. Today, I'm actually going to go back to D&D for a bit. I haven't revisited D&D for a while. As anyone who's following the channel knows, I'm actually running a World of Darkness Changeling game on Mondays at the moment. And I have been playing in a World of Darkness Mage game on Tuesdays. However, as of last week, that game has come to a close, and we have restarted a new Dungeons and Dragons game. My friend Doc, who plays in the Monday game, is running that one, and it is set in the Homebrew Spelljammer universe that we've kind of been building as a group over the last 2 or 3 years, which is always a lot of fun. But what I wanted to talk about in it is the character that I've decided to play, and kind of how I got to that concept, because it's actually kind of a strange way that I've gone about it this time, and something that I don't often use for characters. And I just wanted to talk about what I found interesting about it and why I wanted to do it. So for those who have not watched last Tuesday's game recap, the session 1, I am playing a fallen god. Now, although that does sound impressive, and my character would certainly want you to believe that it is impressive, in reality, the fallen god racial template, which you won't find in any books, basically when I approached Doc with this concept, I approached him with a homebrew concept. Actually, what I approached him with was a racial class, as kind of an idea of what I was looking to play. And we worked back and forth with it a bit. I gave him some of my ideas, he gave some of his ideas, and he eventually pared it down to a race that he was happy to have me play in his game. Now, this portion of it, although it's not really connected to the background of the character, is hugely important because it demonstrates one of the greatest strengths of D&D. If you cannot find the character concept that you are looking for, if you want to play a race that you don't see in a book, if you want to play a class that does something that is not in the book, the fact that it is not in the book is not a reason not to do it. Homebrew it. Write something up. Your DM is, if your DM is worth anything, they're going to look at it and they're going to either say, I'm happy with this, this looks cool, go for it, or they'll say, this is too powerful, I like the idea, but let's tone it down. Or if they're a really decent person, they'll look at you and they'll say, you've really undercut yourself here, have some more boosts. Of course, there is always going to be the odd situation where the DM has to look at you and unfortunately say, really, this does not fit the campaign. Don't be disappointed if that's the case. What they're telling you at that point is that they want to make sure that you enjoy the game they're running, and they don't think this character idea fits. That doesn't mean it's a bad character idea. That means hold on to it, save it for the next game, and it might fit. But Doc and I went back and forth on it, and we came up with the Fallen God race, which in most aspects, is human. We adjusted a few things, we tweaked a few things. My character does not age like a human. He lives a lot longer time. It also added some elements to his backstory that says that he is a fallen god, that his divinity was taken from him and placed into a receptacle, an item, and that if he could ever recover that item, he would recover his divinity. Now, this does bring me to another point here, and that is realistic player expectations. Doc has allowed me to build a race based on a very powerful background element. But that is a double-edged sword. It means that on one side, if I could locate that element, I could become very powerful very quickly. But it also means that I have to manage my expectations of I'm giving up some other aspect of racial ability for this background element that I as a player have to realize the DM may never pay off in-game. I completely accept that there is a very high chance that the item which contains my divinity will never appear in-game. I will never reclaim it, and that I might go the entire game without regaining divinity. As a player, I have to accept that that is the case, because as a DM, I would expect a player to accept that. And the realization that an item like that, when found, will throw off the power balance of the game. Now, that means that a DM has to either up the power level of the game so that that item, that power is needed, or they have to keep that item out of the game to keep their planned game relevant. Okay, I'm nearly 8 minutes in, and I haven't actually even mentioned the concept of the character, which is what I said the video was about, so sorry about that, but I think I've covered off some very important points. Now then, the character concept. Anyone who watches the channel, anyone who knows me, knows that I've been on a very powerful Disney kick recently. I just took my grandkids. We just had an amazing time. It was mind-blowing. And it's caused me to remember a lot about Disney from my own childhood, which I had forgotten, which has then caused me to go look at some of the things that I might not have otherwise looked at. To that end, we picked up Moana, the newest Disney movie, the one that has The Rock in it, and we watched it, and it was really good. I enjoyed it. Probably the best Disney movie released, I would say, since at least 2000. The best recent Disney movie I can think of. Is it as good as the classics? Hard to say. They've got the weight of time behind them. We'll see how it lasts. But in that movie, we met the character of Maui. The character that The Rock plays, that Dwayne Johnson plays. And he's brilliant. He's a lot of fun. He is a demigod. For those who have not seen the movie, possible spoilers, I don't know. Proceed at your own risk. But he is a demigod who has lost his weapon. And because of that, has lost a great deal of his power and his confidence in himself. Because of this, he also has been not active in the world. And stories that are told about him now are not the stories that he would want told about him. And as the story progresses, we find out that, well, for one, he's portraying himself as this amazingly great hero deity, and we actually find out in reality that he never was this kind of hero. He just always wanted to be this kind of hero. Which I think is a very interesting concept. So you pull the elements together, you have this divine being who has lost a great deal of his power, who is seeking to get it back, who wants everyone to remember that he is a great hero, whether it's true or not. And as I'm watching this, I started to get inclinations of a character. I started to think, well, what would it be like to play a character that has that kind of weight of time behind them? To play a character that has been around since before time that anyone else in the group can imagine, who talks about how great and how amazing they used to be. Because let's be honest, we all do that to some extent or another. If you've ever had a drink in the bar with a 40-year-old ex-high school quarterback, you know what I'm talking about. Bruce Springsteen sung about the glory days and the idea that, you know, you kind of sit and all you do is look back. And when you look back, it's always better in your memory than it actually was in reality. So you have this guy who's been alive a long time, who wants to tell all these stories about the great things he used to do, who at the core of him knows they're not really true, but knows that nobody that's alive anymore was around to say different. Now, he's lost most of his power. It's out there somewhere, but he doesn't know how to reclaim it. And that is where the character started to kind of evolve. Because in the case of Maui, it's very simple. You know, he lost his hook, and he needs it back. In this case, because I'm not actually looking to play Maui, I'm looking to play a character who's conceptually similar. I developed something where basically this guy was a deity, and he made enemies of the wrong people. He said the wrong things to the wrong gods. He claimed credit for someone else's work one too many times, and he made enemies. And these enemies, in a lot of cases, were deities of much higher rank. And so because of this, eventually the time came when they acted against him, and his divinity was taken from him. And it was cast into an item as a punishment, and cast out to who knows where. Lights on, because I'm realizing all you're seeing is black. So then now we have this kind of purpose. He wants to be remembered. He wants the person that he wishes he was to be remembered. And he wants to portray that he has a bravado. He wants to show people how amazing he is, when secretly what he's really trying to do is to win admiration. He hopes that if they believe he's amazing, it will actually help him to become amazing, even though he's not been amazing before. So that is the kind of the ebb and flow of the character that you're looking at. He wants to become more than he is, certainly more than he is. He wants to actually even become more than he was, which is the other aspect of it. And in doing so, you have his kind of core purpose. So I've created a deity, a low-ranking deity, and what was he the deity of? Well, we're playing a Spelljammer game. For those who don't know, Spelljammer is magic and ships and pirates in space. So this guy advertises himself as a god of the suns and the moons and the stars. He will tell people that he was there and that he created space. Now, anyone who's actually playing in the game with me that watches this will get a few spoilers, but for the purpose of the video, I'm going to go ahead and say it. He was actually, according to the backstory that Doc and I have worked out, he was actually there at the creation of space. He was part of it. This is true. But, for intents and purposes, in reality, if you're looking at a new motorway getting built, he was the guy that was painting the lines on the street. Did he create, design, layout? Did he build the motorway? Not really. No. Somebody else, much more powerful than him, built it. He came and he put the markings on it after the fact. He was part of it. He was on the team that did it. He was there. And because of that, he can talk a very good game. He certainly knows more about it than anybody that wasn't there. But when he claims that he did it, that's bravado talking. And that's really where this character has come from. He's all about this kind of false face of bravado, hiding his own insecurities and trying to find some way to become the person he tells people he already is. Now, why did this character appeal to me? I can't answer that specifically, but I always find myself drawn to character concepts that take a single element of a personality and magnify it. Now, all of us, to some extent or another, have things that we show that are simply not the truth. I believe there's a saying, fake it till you make it. And in day-to-day life, most of us do that on some level. So to take that tiny little aspect of things and to make it a focal point of a character then causes me to have a chance to reflect and to be introspective on times when I have done that, possibly without even realizing it. Now, I realize that for some I'm delving a bit into psychology here, but to me, D&D is nothing if not psychology. It's all about figuring out things about ourselves in an environment that allows us to use proxies to do things that we can't whatever reason, do in reality. So, there we are. I'm going to end the video for today. I've definitely gone longer than I normally go, so I apologize if I've bored you or if you've tuned out. If you're hearing the apology, though, obviously you didn't tune out. Like, subscribe. I might not be around tomorrow because, as I said, I'm working from home, but we'll see how things go, and maybe I will. Until then, have a great day, and I'll see you around.